Hello and welcome to the news at 5. I'm Dominic Iwiwa and these are the stories and reports we're tracking at the moment. The chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, Professor Mahmood Yakubu, has handed over the leadership of the electoral body to the oldest serving national commissioner, Mrs. May Agbamuche, who will be the acting national chairman of INEC. Professor Mahmood made the announcement at the ongoing meeting with resident electoral commissioners from the 36 states and the FCT at the INEC headquarters in Abuja. He solicits the support of the commissioners and directors of the commission for Mrs. Agbamuche until the appointment of a substantive chairman. Professor Yakubu was appointed by President Muhammadu Buhari on October 21, 2015 as INEC chairman and reappointed for a second term in 2020. The embattled Senator Natasha Akpoti has returned to the Senate today, resuming plenary after serving a 6-month suspension. The senator representing Kogi Central was seen at the chambers as lawmakers reconvened following a 10-week recess. Her presence marks the official end of her suspension and a return to legislative duties. Senator Akpoti had been suspended in March 2025 over allegations of misconduct leveled against her by the Senate. There is a significant turnout of senators, signaling a full return of legislative activities. However, in a show of international solidarity, some senators arrived at the chamber dressed in Palestinian colors and attire advocating for a free Palestine. Meanwhile, the president of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio, delivered a charge in his opening address, urging lawmakers to recommit themselves to accountability, discipline, and purposeful governance. Addressing his colleagues in the Red Chamber, Senator Akpabio reaffirmed the Senate's responsibility to the Nigerian people, stating that to the citizens of Nigeria, we hear you. He asked us not for excuses, but for results. We will remain accountable and responsive. He underscored the importance of maintaining order within the legislature, warning against actions that could undermine democratic institutions. He declared that those who seek to weaken legislature seek to delete the structure of democracy itself. The Speaker of the House of Representatives, Tajuddin Abbas, says one of the chamber's key objectives is to make elections less contentious and litigious, reduce their cost through single-day voting, and ensure that party primaries are more democratic and inclusive. He stated this while addressing lawmakers during his welcome back speech as the House resumed plenary. According to the Speaker, the reserved seats bill for women and the state police bill will also receive priority attention. Meanwhile, proceedings were briefly disrupted when a lawmaker, Obinna Aguocha, sought to draw the House's attention to a letter he had written to the Speaker and the President concerning Nnamdi Kanu, who is standing trial on terrorism charges. Mr. Aguocha insisted on speaking under matters of privilege, alleging he had not received any response from the Speaker's office. Efforts by the Speaker to have him step down the motion and handle the issue privately were unsuccessful, as the lawmaker maintained he was acting within House rules. The Deputy Speaker later intervened, assuring that the matter would be properly presented before the House. In another development, President Bola Tinubu has declined assent to 2 recently passed legislative proposals, citing fiscal risks, legal inconsistencies, and conflicts with federal policies. Senate President Godswill Akpabio announced this during plenary, reading letters from the president explaining his objections. President Tinubu rejected the Nigerian Institute of Transport Technology Repeal and Reenactment Bill, describing some provisions as flawed and harmful to fiscal discipline. He opposed the clause allowing the institute to collect 1% of import and export freight charges, calling it onerous and inconsistent with national tax policy. He also faulted the provision empowering the institute to borrow up to 50 million naira without presidential approval, warning it could enable financial abuse. In a separate letter, the president withheld assent to the National Library Trust Fund Amendment Bill 2025, citing contradictions with existing laws and policies on funding, taxation, and public service administration. The ECOWAS Commission is set to allocate statutory positions within her institutions for a 4-year term beginning from 2026. The president of the ECOWAS Commission, Mr. Omar Toure, disclosed this during the meeting of the Ad Hoc Ministerial Council on the rotation of statutory appointees in Abuja. Mr. Toure charged members of the council to review the proposal of allocations with the broader interest of the ECOWAS community at heart. Our correspondent, Victoria Longjohn, reports. The Nigerian Army says the welfare of its personnel remains a top priority under the current leadership. The Chief of Special Services and Programs Major General Jamal Abdulsalam disclosed this while inaugurating a new transit accommodation for officers at the Bori camp in Port Harcourt. Our correspondent Deborah Agbalama completes the story.
The Chief of Special Services and Programs Army, Major General Jamal Abdulsalam, says the current leadership of the Nigerian Army has prioritized welfare, ensuring that officers and men are better catered for. Speaking at the inauguration of a new transit accommodation for staff of the General Officer Commanding at the Bori camp in Port Harcourt, General Abdulsalam explained that several welfare packages have been improved. According to him, soldiers' ration cash allowance has been doubled, while medical services, accommodation, and education of their children are being adequately addressed.
Everything that is within this complex is meant for the soldiers. He has been able to build this edifice that will accommodate nothing less than 40 to 50 soldiers. So I think it's a very commendable project, and this is how it's expected. And this is what the Army is now doing everywhere, not only here, everywhere you go, everybody wants to emulate what the Chief of Army Staff is doing. The welfare of soldiers has never been as good, ever since the creation of the Nigerian Army, I can say, because so many welfare aspects of the soldiers have been tackled. The ration cash allowance of soldiers has been doubled since the Chief of Army Staff came. So many issues that have to do with soldiers have been handled. Their medical is handled, their accommodation, as you can see here, is being handled. Education of their wards and children is being handled. So all aspects of welfare are being handled, and all the things that are provided are excellent, top-notch.
In his remarks, the General Officer Commanding 6th Division, Major General Emmanuel Emeka, described the new facility as a sign of continuity and a shared commitment to soldiers' welfare. He also disclosed that construction is ongoing on a 60-unit block of flats within the division, designed to ease accommodation challenges faced by officers.
The project we are commissioning today stands as tangible evidence of continuity, growth, and shared commitment to the well-being of our personnel. In furtherance of this vision, I am pleased to inform you that construction work is also currently ongoing on a 60-unit block of flats within the division. This project is designed to address the accommodation deficit faced by officers and will complement the solid foundation laid during your tenure.
For the Army, such projects underscores the commitment of the Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Olufemi Oluyede, to improving the well-being of soldiers. Deborah Balama, Channels Television News.
As we mentioned before, the president of the ECOWAS Commission, Mr. Omar Toure, disclosed that the commission is set to allocate statutory positions within her institutions for a 4-year term beginning from 2026. Our correspondent, Victoria Agbalama. Victoria Longjohn reports.
Please take seat.
It's the opening session of the ad hoc ministerial meeting on the rotation of statutory appointees of the ECOWAS Commission. And the ECOWAS President, Mr. Omar Toure, flanked by Nigeria's Minister of State for Foreign Affairs, Ambassador Bianca Ojukwu, are joined by heads of ECOWAS institutions and ambassadors from the sub-region for the meeting.
housekeeping information.
The meeting, which is chaired by Ambassador Ojukwu, is in furtherance of the establishment of an ad hoc committee established in June 2025 to review the proposed allocation of statutory positions within the Commission.
To facilitate this process, Council established this 8-member ad hoc committee comprising of the republics of Benin, Cote d'Ivoire, Gambia, Ghana, Guinea, Guinea-Bissau, Nigeria, Senegal, and Togo, to review the proposed allocation of the Commission and submit it to the Council for consideration and ultimately to the ECOWAS authority for decision. Your Excellencies, during this meeting, the Commission will be presenting a memo setting out the framework for the allocation of the statutory positions for your consideration.
Highlighting the significance of the task, the chairman of the ad hoc committee pledged fairness and inclusivity in the distribution of the statutory positions amongst member states.
I want to therefore assure you that as part of our enduring commitment to the ideals of regional integration and solidarity, Nigeria will continue to assume its traditional leadership role by constructively engaging with all member states to build consensus and ensure that our collective decisions reflect both equity and the shared vision for the future of our community.
It is expected that the report from this meeting will be submitted to the Council of Ministers during the statutory meetings in December 2025 for its final consideration and subsequent recommendation to the authority. From Abuja, Victoria Longchan, Channels Television News.
The Supreme Court has reserved judgment in the case instituted by the Osun State government challenging Attorney General of the Federation for withholding local government funds due to it. Justice Uwani Abba Aji, who led a 7-man panel of justices, reserved judgment to a date that will be communicated to the parties after taking arguments from parties in the suit. In the suit, the Attorney General of Osun State is seeking an order of the Apex Court directing the AGF to immediately release the statutory allocations to chairmen and councillors of the 30 local government areas of the state. Counsel for the plaintiff, Musaibu Adetumbi, who invoked the Supreme Court's original jurisdiction based on a letter according recognition to the disputed APC chairman, also sought an order stopping the AGF from further withholding monthly allocations and revenues to the democratically elected chairman in place. The grouse of the Osun Attorney General was that the AGF was wrong in his letter recognizing APC local government's area chairman when the matter was pending before the court. He also predicated his case on the ground that the election that brought in the APC officials as local government chairman had been nullified by a federal high court and upheld by the Court of Appeal in Abuja. Opposing the suit, the counsel for the AGF, Akin Olujimi, urged the Apex Court to dismiss the case, arguing that the plaintiff lacked the legal authority to bring the case before the Supreme Court to invoke the original jurisdiction. The Rivers State Governor, Siminalayi Fubara, has inspected the section of the State Secretariat complex affected by fire, describing the incident as an indication that the long overdue renovation of the complex can no longer be delayed. Governor Fubara commended the prompt response of firefighters, praising his administration for revamping the various firefighting stations. He explained that the affected section of the Secretariat houses the state's crèche under the Establishment Bureau.
We give God all the glory that no life was lost and the damage was on just a section. It's like the Secretariat has a crèche that takes care of babies. So I think it's that section that had that was affected by the fire. But there's one thing very important now. We've been talking about the renovation of our very foremost secretariat. And I believe with this particular incident, there won't be any reason not to continue it anymore. Whatever is required by this government to commence that process, we will immediately swing into action. I want to thank the civil servants for their support, more especially. You see, when governments make investments, people don't understand what they are doing. Before the emergency rule, we took our time to invest in fire service. I wonder what would have happened if we didn't have a formidable and functional fire service. So we'll continue to do those things that we know will continue to lift Rivers people and make Rivers people happy.
Just one day after Vice President Kashim Shettima raised a note of caution on the face-off between Dangote refinery and some labor unions, a group of eminent Nigerians has added its voice to the need to protect the refinery by all Nigerians. In a statement, the group, comprising notable names like the Bishop of Sokoto Catholic Church, Bishop Matthew Kuka, political scientist Abubakar Siddiq Mohammed, founder of Stanbic IBTC Bank at Tedo Peterside, the Emir of Kano, Muhammad Sanusi II, and the former Director General of the Securities and Exchange Commission, Aroma Ote, recalled how Nigerians have endured the collapse of government-owned refineries for decades, with trillions of naira wasted on subsidies. Other members of the group are former Minister of Aviation Osita Chidoka, Senator Shola Akinyede, Dr. Salamatu Husseini Suleiman, Ibrahim Dahiru Waziri, Obobongwan Barbara Etim James, Okpeyemi Adamolekun, Dudu Maman Manuga, and human rights activist Aisha Yusufu. The group believes the entrance of Dangote refinery represents more than a private venture, but a national symbol of what bold domestic investments can achieve, and the results are quite visible. Already, the refinery has begun to ease supply pressures, with petrol prices in some parts of the country dropping from around 1,500 naira per litre to about 820 naira per litre, a 55% reduction. This impact on transport costs and food prices offers Nigerians a glimpse of how local productivity can improve daily life. It also signals to investors at home and abroad that industry, rather than speculation, can still thrive in Nigeria. Addressing the recent face-off with labor unions, however, the group says while workers' rights must be respected, such disruptions pose dangers to investor confidence, economic stability, and Nigeria's strategic interest in reducing dependency on imports. Now, Nigeria has adopted the Kampala Declaration on Agriculture and Food Security with the support of the German Development Corporation. These are the words of the Minister of Agriculture and Food Security, Mr. Abubakar Kyari. Speaking at a food security meeting in Abuja, Mr. Kyari appealed to all subnational governments in the country to join the train as the federal government commences the adoption of the African Union CAADP initiative.
This forum on how to enhance food security across Nigeria and Africa is bringing together key players in the sector and government officials across all levels. The forum is looking at how to leverage the private sector to achieve the mandate of food for all.
Recently, at the just concluded African Food System Summit in Dakar, I hosted a deal room with investors and other critical stakeholders on the Nigeria Post-Harvest Systems Transformation Program, NIFAST, which aims to cut massive annual post-harvest inefficiencies valued at 3.5 trillion naira and strengthen value chains for secured national food sovereignty. The outcome of this investment drive will create a more efficient, sustainable, and equitable food system, ultimately contributing to farmers' income, livelihood improvement, waste reduction, value chain enhancement, economic development, and food security.
Officials of the German Development Corporation state that the Global Project Sustainability Agricultural Systems and Policies, commissioned by the German Development Corporation, supports 9 reforms in partner countries across Africa and Asia, as well as regional and global levels.
The Kampala Declaration and this Agriculture Development Program provide a shared vision to Africa's food systems. But success depends on what happens here in Nigeria, how states translate these commitments into policies, budgets, and programs that impact farmers, women, and youth. I particularly commend Nigeria for taking initiative in convening commissioners of agriculture and other key stakeholders here today to build consensus and chart a practical roadmap for the domestication of the Kampala agenda.
Food security plays a critical role for exports, job creation, and income for farmers. Key players are expressing interest in making it a reality. Sarah Chimogu, Channels Television News.
On business news, economies in sub-Saharan Africa are now expected to grow faster by 3.8% this year, and this is according to the latest report by the World Bank. In its biannual pulse report issued today, the multinational finance institution says the latest projection, which is 0.3 percentage points higher than the 3.5% projection made in April this year, is largely attributed to stable prices that have spurred easing by policymakers. At the same time, the World Bank says the upgrade is driven by stabilizing foreign exchange and inflation rates. Specifically, the World Bank upgraded growth forecasts for Nigeria, Ethiopia, and Ivory Coast, all major economies in the region, and says it expects that the momentum will increase in the next 2 years. Growth prospects for 30 economies out of the 47 that make up the region, as defined by the bank, were revised upwards. Now, the federal government plans to spend $538 billion on the special agro-industrial zone in Kaduna, Cross River, and Ogun states as first tranche of the scheme. This was made known by the Minister of Agriculture and Food Security, Mr. Abubakar Kyari, at an event in Abuja on Monday. He clarified that the government would leverage the private sector to facilitate the implementation, stressing that the zone will further stimulate a total sum of $1 billion by 2027. The minister also expressed his optimism that the zone will further stimulate a total sum of $1 billion by 2027. And that's it on the news at 5. I'm Dominic Iwiwu. Up next is The World Today.